Hi there, welcome to Paper Zen. This ice cream truck was so much fun to design, and I can imagine using it for so many special occasions. I've got all my materials cut out already. All these items that you see here are cut out of 80-pound cardstock, except for the acetate and for the vinyl for the text. This is the outside part of the box, and I don't like to waste any material, so I've also cut a little facade here and a little door here out of the same cardstock at the same time. This is the inside part of the box, and this is the acetate piece that I can imagine is great for adding little sprinkles in it. And I cut this piece out of the Cricut acetate sheets. And if you're kind of like me, I went to the store and I was kind of hesitant to buy it because I thought, well, why does it have this kind of like a little bit of dullness to it? Oh, it turns out there's actually a coating on the front and back of this sheet. So as soon as you take that protective coating off, it's super clear and it looks just as clear as that photo that you see. Now let's talk about the decorations in a bit more detail. These pieces here make up the tires. These ones here are the bumpers. These pieces here make up the little speakers. This part here is a little shelf where you're going to serve the ice cream, and these are the accents for the awnings. These are the little lights, and these little rectangles here, two of them I'm using for some side mirrors, and if you want, you can use one for license plates on the back. These are some side panels that I thought would add some nice accent to the side of the ice cream truck, and I cut them out of this Coordinations cardstock. It's a pre-printed sheet that I got from Joann's. These pieces here are the windows, and I cut them out of a metallic cardstock just because I happen to like that sheen, but you know, you can just cut them out of white if you prefer. I also cut the backing for my text out of the same metallic white. I just kind of like how it all went together, and I prefer to use some vinyl to attach my lettering to the white piece. And if you don't have vinyl, then I've got an example here cut out of cardstock. And as you can imagine, it's a little harder to handle all these little details. And I'm using a post-it note just to use the adhesive on it, just to make sure I don't lose any of those little pieces and keep everything nice and safe. So if you're going to do it out of vinyl, then please save these corner pieces. They're going to help us register onto the cardstock. And if you are cutting the letters out of cardstock, then please save this background piece, and that's going to help us register those letters. So I'll show you both ways in the video, but as I said, it's a lot easier if you do it out of vinyl. In fact, I actually struggled cutting some of these letters. I actually had to use a 60-degree blade that's meant for cardstock in order to get these letters to cut more cleanly on my Cricut. I've got this piece of text here as well that I cut out of vinyl, and just like before when we kept the corner pieces, I'm going to keep these two corner pieces here. And lastly, I've got all my little ice cream pieces. Now you can certainly cut each one out of the color that you're looking for, but actually I found it easier to just simply cut them all out of a strip of white cardstock and use some markers to just color them the way I wanted the flavors to be. Here are some other supplies which you might find useful throughout the project. I already mentioned the color marker, which I use to color up the ice cream. I've got a fine tip glue bottle, and inside that I've got the Line Co adhesive in there. For small pieces, I sometimes like to use the glue stick. And to glue the ice cream to the side of the acetate, not all glues are meant for acetate, and two brands that are good for that are Scotch Quick Dry Adhesive and the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. And if you don't have these types of adhesives, then I would suggest a really strong double-sided tape. I also like to use a bone folder to help me with my creases. I've also got some tweezers here for those really small areas, and to transfer my vinyl, I've got a vinyl transfer film. So now that you know all the materials, let's get started making it. So I'm going to start by assembling the ice cream pieces first, because why not? It's kind of fun, and it's actually easier when I've got less little pieces that can get lost on my work surface. And I could use my regular glue, but in this case, I'm going to use a glue stick. And this is a scrap piece of paper. And in my PDF file, you'll find that I show how the ice cream looks all stacked up together and how they look separate. So it's easy for you to figure out what goes with what. So I'm just going to start with the ice cream waffle cone. And if you look at the tip of the ice cream, I'm going to face them all in the left direction here. So I'm going to start with this piece here, and I'm just going to dab my glue stick. I'm not going to smear my glue stick, because that way if you smear it, the glue can actually end up going to the front. So I'm just going to take my tweezers, because my fingers are just too big for this task, and then I'm just going to put it on top of the ice cream cone. And if you flip it upside down and look carefully, you'll see that I made it just a little bit smaller. The backing piece is just a little bit smaller than the ice cream, and that can give you just a little bit of movement around until you find the perfect placement. So I'm just going to do the same thing with the top piece, and make sure when you dab your glue, I moved it to a new section where I know there is no glue, because you don't want to get glue on the front. I don't know about you, but I just find it so magical when I see all these things stacked up, and it totally looks like an ice cream, right? Here I've got a grape flavored popsicle, and I'm just going to dab the middle piece and stick it on top of the wooden sticks here and center it within that area. And as you can see, I made the wooden piece just slightly smaller, so you can see a little bit of an outline of the purple around there. And then we'll add the top piece here. So I'm just going to use my fingers to feel the edges and make sure everything lines up. So same thing with the creamsicle. We'll put that middle layer down and turn it over and just center it within the wooden piece. And again, align all those edges. Now that we finished the orange creamsicle, let's work on the ice cream sandwich. And if you did it like me and you cut all these pieces out of white, they look very similar. And so if you look carefully, that's why I put 2 lines in the middle, so you can tell right away that that's the middle piece. And then we'll apply our glue. And then I'm going to align the edges on the bottom left. So make sure these edges line up here, and make sure this edge lines up here. You just kind of squish it around in your fingers until they line up. So again, the top piece goes on top, and we're going to align the bottom here and align the left here. And once you've got those edges aligned, you can see that it makes the sandwich look so 3D. Yeah, you can tell. I spent a lot of time on that, and it was quite fun. Okay, now we've got our last one. We've got our 3 flavored ice cream. So I'm just going to align the edges along the top and the sides. And then once they're aligned, I'm just going to give it a nice press from above. On to the next piece. And again, align all those edges. And then again, I'm just going to flip it over and just kind of center it within that backing piece. Okay, we finished assembling our ice cream. Let's go give them a truck. Now let's tackle the inside part of the box. I've already gone ahead and pre-folded along all those dotted lines. I've also got these items here to decorate the box. This is the printed piece with the lines and 4 holes cut out for the lights. I've got the 4 lights here for the back. I've got the bumper piece, and I've got my window. So let's go ahead and attach that window. I'm going to flip this over, apply some glue, and then I'm going to center the window in between all those edges. Next, I'm going to add some glue on this panel here and glue that down, and then I'll do the same on the opposite side. And these 2 flaps, they're really just to add some strength and rigidity underneath the windows. Do you see this flap here? This is the bumper. So I'm going to apply glue on the middle tab right here, and then I'm going to fold it up and glue it against this panel here. Now that we've glued down the bumper, do you see this angled tab? Let's bring that up. And so what's going to happen is this is going to swing around and get glued right to here. And you might be wondering, what the heck is going on here? Don't worry, it's going to make sense. We're going to flip this panel outward like this, and it's going to come up like this. And then there's a fold here, and that's going to wrap around like that. Okay? So now that you see how everything is assembled, let's glue them in place. So first, we'll just add some glue to the angled flap, swing it over, and glue that to the bottom piece. So I know that this piece is going to be in the way, so we'll just kind of fold it out of the way for now and make sure that those edges come and meet up against one another. So with my middle finger here, I'm just pressing against the bottom part here, and from above I'm pressing that flap into place. And then, just as we did before, this flap here is going to be glued to this panel right here. So we'll just add some glue there. So you can see how all those edges line up. Okay, now we can apply some glue on this panel here. And I feel comfortable adding glue to this panel here at the same time. Bring that across. And then this tab comes down inside here. And we'll just hold that until the glue sets. Now that we've taken care of this side, let's take care of the remaining side. So we've got two panels here. One's got the curved tab, one's got an angled tab. So for the curved tab, I'm going to bend that one out of the way for now. And then the angled one comes in to the inside like that. So I'm just going to bend it over and add some glue and bring it to the inside of the box and glue it down. And I'm just going to look to make sure that all my edges are lined up as I press against the glue. And just the same as we did here, we're going to add some glue on this middle panel right here. And then this edge here, it lines up against that dotted edge here. So we'll just make sure that's nice and aligned as we let the glue set. You can also fold this over just to make sure everything is going to come together nicely as we press those edges together and make sure the glue comes and bonds together. Okay, now we don't add any glue to this curved panel. This curved panel is what prevents the tray from coming out all the way. So I'm just going to apply glue on these two remaining tabs here. Fold it over, and that last tab goes in place. So I'm just going to apply some glue to the patterned piece of cardstock here. And I'm just going to align this bottom edge with the bottom edge of the truck here. And then that's going to tell me exactly where to apply the lights. It's so easy when you know exactly where to put things, right? It's kind of like paint by number in a way. Now the last piece is the bumper, and I'm just going to fold along all those dotted lines. And the way I'm going to fold them is a zigzag pattern, so back and forth, kind of like that. And then I'm going to open it up and apply glue on one half of the face. So just on this side of the panel. And then I'm going to squish it closed and hold it until the glue sets. And then I'm going to fan it out on the opposite side and apply glue again and glue that together. And now we can apply glue to the bumper and follow the line and glue it into place. And it's optional if you want to add a little license plate on the back of the bumper here, or just center it visually. Now that we've finished the inside of our box, we can put our ice cream in there and keep them nice and safe. Now when it comes to the clear acetate, I just kind of rub my fingers on the acetate piece and peel that protective coating off of both sides. Now that we pre-folded along all the score lines, we can insert the tabs into the slots. They're a little tricky at first, but you just get the hang of it. And once you slot them in, the tabs will kind of lock in place. And then this tab here, it's notched so that people know that that's where they can access the goodies inside. So next I'm going to tackle the front window, and I've also got the speakers, I've got the two mirror pieces, 3 red pieces for the awning, the window, and my vinyl. So let's tackle the vinyl first. I'm just going to put my film on top, give it a good scrape, and make sure I've got everything picked up. I'm going to use some washi tape and hold my windshield so it doesn't move around. And then I'm just going to position those 2 corners right where there's negative spaces right here on either side of my window. And I'm just going to move it around until it's nice and lined up. Give it a good scrape with my bone folder, and then we can remove the vinyl film. Okay, now let's add some glue on the awning pieces, and then I'm going to attach the red pieces, and then I'm going to flip it over, apply glue to the mirrors. I'm just going to center that and do the same on the other side. Okay, now that my awning pieces have had a chance to dry, I'm going to pre-fold along the dotted line here, and then I'm just going to bend on all those half moon shapes here to bend the awning down. And we can see that coming into place. Now that I can see exactly where the fold line is, now I know exactly where to put my glue. We'll just follow that edge. I'm just going to center that. And now for the speakers, they just kind of come forward like this. And then I'm going to add some glue on the side here and take my red piece and just line it up to that triangle area. And then I just kind of flip it over on the other side, and I just try to make sure that these two angles here match up. And don't worry about this tab for now. Now let's do the same on this side. Now we just add some glue on this teal area here, and then glue the pink part of the speaker on top. And we'll just match up those edges so that's nice and aligned. And then on this side, we can see that I can just center it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to add some glue on this area here, all the way to the tips there. But don't add glue to the half moon circle there. Okay, and now we can add the other piece on the opposite side and match up all those edges. And then I'm just going to squeeze and make sure that those two edges, these two tips, come together. It just makes it nice and finished looking. I deliberately made the inside pieces just a little bit smaller, just so that we can kind of tuck them out of the way. It's a small thing, I know, but I guess I like looking at those little details. So again, I'm just going to add glue on the blue area here, and then I'm going to add the pink piece on top. Flip it over, and then add glue on these areas here, and then glue it on top. And again, I'm just going to crimp it together, make sure that those edges are nice and aligned, and then I'll just hold it until the glue sets. Okay, our front windshield is ready. Let's tackle the rest of the box. Okay, next I'm going to work on the awnings of the box. I'm just going to apply some glue, and I'm just going to line up that red edge here with the dotted line that you see here on the right hand side. And I'm also making sure that the cut edge here of the red part is also the same as the cut edge on this side of our ice cream truck. And that's just going to make the bending of the score line a little easier. Next, I'm going to apply some glue on the front bumper and glue that on this panel here. It's easier to line that up just along the bottom edge and then centered inside that panel there. And then obviously that tells us exactly where to put the lights. I like it when you don't have to guess where things go, right? Now let's add the siding pieces, and these two pieces look quite similar, except one has a notch here for the door. And let's go ahead and apply that one first. So I'm just going to line up the notch of the door towards the front of the truck, and this is where the wheels are going on this panel. So let's go ahead and glue that into place, and we'll just line up the corner to corner here, and then we'll do the same on the opposite side, corner to corner. So I'm just going to apply some glue on the door window area and put the square into place, and then we can add some glue again, and that's just going to sit in this little notch right here. Okay, now let's add the window to the driver's side here. I'm going to flip that over, and let's just make sure that our angle is notched in the same direction. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue to outline this window here, and then I'm going to add a little tiny bead of glue around the outside part of this window. And I just want to make sure that the window is down completely against the truck, because when the clear acetate box slides in and out, I don't want it to catch on this window. Okay, so just make sure it's completely flat against the truck. Okay, now that all these elements are down, let's go ahead and fold along all those dotted lines. And when we're done, let's flip it over and bring this panel over here. Let's apply some glue and bring this flap over here. And I just like to fold it in the opposite way just to make sure things are nice and aligned. Okay, now we can tackle this little shelf right here. I know that this little panel was a little difficult to fold, and hopefully you got that folded okay. And trust me, this part is really important. Watch how it comes together as a little triangle. You see? You see how it comes together? Okay, so that little piece that was so hard to fold, that's where we're going to apply some glue. And then we're just going to tuck it in on itself. And you can use your work surface to press against it. And we'll just hold that until it dries. Okay, now that shelf looks pretty strong to me. Let's add the little accent piece on top. And if you look carefully on the accent piece, there's a corner here that's nice and rounded, and then there's a corner that's straight. So I'm going to put the rounded side on the outside, and I'm just going to apply some glue on the accent piece and glue it into place. And with my fingers, I'm just going to align all those edges, make sure it's nice and straight. Now we're ready to add the text to the side of the truck. Now if you're doing it out of cardstock, what you would do is lay it on top of your backing piece and use some washi tape to hold it in place. And then you would take your glue stick and dab the back side of your letter, and then use the backing piece here to guide you in terms of where to glue those letters. And then when you're done gluing all those letters, you would remove the backing piece, and that would leave your letters behind on your cardstock here. So now let me show you how to do it the vinyl method. So I've got my transfer film, and I'm going to lay it on top, give it a good rub, pick up all those pieces. To make sure my backing piece stops moving around, I'm just going to use some washi tape and hold it down. And then I can apply my vinyl, and these four corners here match up to these four corners here. And then I'm going to hold it from above and line up those four corners, and then I'm going to press from above and use the bone folder to give it a good rub. And now we can remove our vinyl, and then we can add some glue again. We'll just squish it around until we see that it's nice and centered. Okay, now we can start forming the rest of our box. So I'm just going to move this roof panel out of the way, and so I have more access to these panels here. I'm just going to apply some glue on these two tabs here and bring the front down on top. And with my thumb, I'm just going to make sure that these edges are aligned, and then I'll just hold it until it sets. And then we'll apply glue to the next two little tabs and bring this panel over. And again, I'm just going to use my thumb, make sure things are nice and aligned. And then we can bring these two tabs down. And I'm just going to apply some glue and bring this panel over. You can also use your desk to help you give a nice stable area to press down against. And then this last tab here, we'll just flip that open and glue that into place. Okay, so let's add some glue to the front windshield area here and make sure that the speakers are out of the way as we apply that front windshield. And with your other hand, you can put it inside, and just to give yourself something to press against as you press that windshield into place. Okay, now we can just finish off those speakers. Let's just flip it forward like this and add just a tiny dab of glue on that red, and then we'll flip it back, and so it presses against the side of the truck and makes it nice and strong. And we'll do the same on the other side. And finally, we've come to our tires. Now when you look at the tire pieces, you'll see here that there's one part that's nice and round and one part has a cut off edge. I'm going to align all the round sides on the right hand side because I happen to be right-handed. Let's glue our hubcaps down first, and we're just going to apply some glue and put that in the center. Next, we can just fold along the dotted lines back and forth to create a zigzag fold. And you'll notice when I finish folding, do you see how it's a little off everywhere? Well, how about we fix that? I'm just going to push this aside for now as I push all those edges against my work surface. So I'm just going to give it a good squeeze, and with my thumbs I'm just going to align all these arcs together so that they line up nicely. Okay, so now we can open it up, and then I'm just going to apply glue on half of those circles, and then I'm just going to squish everything up again, and then I'm just going to push it against my work surface again and make sure everything is nice and aligned. And then when you let go, the other side's going to unravel, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll just apply glue on every half face of the circle and bring all those edges together. And again, I'm just using my work surface to make sure everything is nice and straight. You can also use the flat edge of your bone folder and press that against the top just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. And then we don't even have to guess. We know exactly where to glue the tire. Okay, now we can take care of the other 3 tires. And for our final pieces, let's add the mud guards on top of the wheels. And we're just going to center that by eye, and then we'll just repeat the same for the other 3. I'm just going to fluff up my awning here and bend down all those half moon shapes. So now that we've got all that done, I'm just going to put the locking mechanism inward like that. Let's take the inside part of the box and slip it in and test how that works. I don't know about you, but I always love that part every time. Okay, now we can put the acetate box in there. Just slide it in just like that. And as we take it in and out, it'll slide along with that box easily, and they can still take it out. And finally, we get to add our ice cream. And to do that, I'm just going to rest the truck against a stack of papers. You can do it with a CD or something like a book. Basically, we want to put that flat surface against here and prevent the mirror from getting squished, okay? So we don't want to just put that against your work surface. So go ahead and choose your favorite ice cream. I'm going to bend the awning out of the way just for now. And how we're going to stick the ice cream to the acetate, you want to choose a glue that can handle being glued to plastic. So Scotch Quick Dry Adhesive or Barely Art Precision Glue both say that they're good for paper and plastic. And so you want to specifically look for that kind of glue, otherwise it could fall off. And if you don't have glue of this type, you can also choose to use some double-sided tape and tape it onto place and trim off the excess. And then once you're done, then your box is ready to fill. When choosing your sprinkles, use the larger variety and avoid the smaller bits because they can fall out. I hope you enjoyed making my ice cream truck with me. I love hearing about how yours turned out and who you gave it to or what you filled it with. If you have time to leave me a review, I'd really appreciate it because I'm always looking to improve. Thanks so much and see you next time.